As you might have learned, Leeds United have agreed personal terms with Noah Okafor, incredibly talented winger at AC Milan. We've not agreed terms with the club itself yet, but this sort of smooths out that process the moment those terms are agreed with the club. He's effectively a Leeds United player, awaiting formalities. However, this sort of links in with the exclusive story that is to be discussed in this specific video, which is specifically surrounding Bilal El Khannouss and the fact that Leeds United have dropped out of the race to sign El Canoose. So, in this video, I'm going to discuss where this story has come from because I've had to do asking around various people to find out specifics of it, why Leeds are no longer interested in Bilal El Canoose, and what the sort of fate is likely to be of this transfer saga going forwards. But before I do, I would massively appreciate if you could just pop a like on the video and subscribe, and maybe become a channel member. Like, doing these videos takes genuinely quite a lot of effort, so it's always good to see that that has like a bit of an impact and people like it. Anyway, diving into the video. So, um, you may be aware that the vast majority of this specific story's build and stuff has been specifically involving Sasha Tavoglieri in the conversation, the journalist, who initially leaked the fact that there was significant interest in El Canoose from Leeds United, from Palace, from Leipzig. And then various little updates have come out from time to time that's made me think, well, maybe he knows someone within the agency that's trying to get a move for El Canouse. So I figured, with things being a little bit quiet, I would actively reach out to the guy and see what he knew about Leeds United's interest in El Canouse. And this is where we learn that the trail has run dead for Leeds United. So I basically asked, what's been going on, any movement from any of the interested parties? And the response was, Leeds United have been quiet these days. Palace are now pushing hard. To which I go, all right, interesting. Thanks for taking the time to message. And then I ask about the Okafor thing, specifically saying, with reports that Okafor has agreed terms with Leeds, would you say it's likely the end of their interest in Bilal? To which his response is, yeah, it's very likely. So Leeds are no longer in this conversation. Leeds have just said, okay, we're getting Okafor in. Let's say probably no to Bilal El Canouse, which is a bit weird, right? Which is because if you're looking at the sort of roles that both of these different players play, Okafor is more of a winger who is able to sort of be very, very direct and take on a player one-on-one, whereas El Canouse is a clever sort of passer. Occasionally he'll carry the ball, but that's not sort of his bag. He's normally the sort of ball before the assist, if that makes sense. He's the pre-assist guy that creates the opportunities to begin with, which is a decent role, yes, and what I think we could do with one of, but we could also do with a winger, so either is fine. It's weird that the signing of Okafor means no more El Canouse unless we think that we're happy enough in midfield and we're not going to be playing with a 10, effectively. Unless that 10 is just going to be Piru or Aronson, whoever's available at that point. So, this is where we get to the sort of interesting part around what is going to happen with the rest of the El Canouse move. It's looking incredibly likely that, given the prospective sale of Eberechi Eze from Crystal Palace, that Bilal El Canouse is going to be going there. They are also having a look at Solis, who is playing somewhere in Europe. I can't quite remember, not off the top of my head. Maybe Brugge? I'm not entirely certain. But the general gist seems to be that there is going to be a move for both Solis and El Canouse rather than one or the other, which is a pretty good spot for Crystal Palace to be in. That is a good pair of moves. But what next for Leeds becomes the next question on absolutely everybody's lips. And a lot of the chat recently has been surrounding the Greek forward that I sometimes forget the name of. So I'm just going to quickly double check. I'll be one moment. There we go. That's the guy, Fotis Ioannidis, who is a striker that currently plays for Panathinaikos, and his numbers are genuinely very, very impressive. He's someone that is effective when it comes to going forwards and also creates a good amount of chances. He can sort of float a little bit. He's in the territory of players that have been suggested by Lockie and Andrea, which to me is very much a sign that they've got a decent amount of quality to them. Lockie and Andrea know their stuff. If you are someone that hovers around the Leeds United space quite a lot, then you would also know that. So, for example, this guy's numbers in the 23-24 season, manages 15 goals in 25 starts. That is, frankly, ridiculous numbers. Last season was a little bit less impressive, but it was hampered by the occasional issue. What we need to learn as Leeds United fans is that players that have injury issues are more likely to come to Leeds because they're less likely to be picked up by sides in European competition. We're going to have to take the occasional flawed player. That's just how this works. Like, some people have concerns around Okafor because they might have heard things about his attitude in the past. Sure, that's fine, but we're not going to get the perfect player, and we have to hope that the management of the club are able to deal with that particular issue. And I think they will be. I think we're in a very, very good spot. Around the El Canoose thing, I'm going to have a little bit of chat about people's sort of stance on the way that the club have done things, because I know that that is a big point of contention, a big point of conversation. People are looking at it saying that why didn't Leeds just go in and chuck the money on the table and say, you're going to come to Leeds United? And for me, I feel like throughout that has just been the wrong approach, because I think the approach that we're taking right now seems to be relatively measured and seems to be focused on being methodical and slower and smarter, and just making sure that things actually work for us, making sure that we're not overspending on players, making sure that in the event that we do go down, because sometimes we will go down, eventually we will go down potentially this season, there is a chance of it. Sorry, I'm doing that thing where it's quite late and my brain is just not catching up with my words. But there's a chance we go down. And in the event that we do what Sunderland are doing right now, which is just throwing money at every problem that they've got to make sure the player that they're looking at is one that signs permanently. If we do that and then we get relegated, then FFP-wise, we're done next season. We are in the dirt, and it becomes so much harder to come back up again that we set ourselves an impossible challenge. This way, I think we are still securing very, very, very good players, and we are doing it in a way that is more sustainable, and it puts us in the right direction for an extended future, rather than if this season goes wrong, then we are really in the mud. Because I think we're in a very decent spot right now. In terms of deals that are left to be done, James Justin is definitely one. Well, I say James Justin, a fullback is one that definitely needs to get done. The specific Justin situation is apparently maybe a bit of a question mark now, given his injury/performances so far this season, which is very interesting. Interestingly, Simicast is coming on the market. Just saying. Um, I'm messing, to be clear, unless it happens, in which case I'm being deadly serious right now. And then it becomes a question of maybe a 10, but personally I don't think that that is a massive priority if we get a winger done, because that's a sort of creative presence done anyway. It'll be a case of look for the biggest talents that emerge on the market and target those and put yourself in the best position possible for the rest of the season. That got a bit rambly at points, but basically, Leeds completely out of the race for El Canoose. As far as I am aware, as far as I have heard from my various questionings of multiple people, mainly Tavolieri, who is the initial source on this entire story, probably going to Crystal Palace, and Okafor potentially in at Leeds United. So, with all that in mind, I'm going to end the video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, pop a like on it. It's massively appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't yet. You can even be a channel member if you fancy. That's also lovely. $2.99 a month. Get a bunch of videos early. It's just a nice time. Anyway, I'm slowly losing my mind, as you can probably tell. So I hope you enjoyed. I will see you later. Toodaloo. I like how I'm really tired, but I'm watching a bunch of streamers do their version of the Olympics on my second monitor in the background. Well, I will be. I got some Peak to play at the same time. Ah, well. See you later.